Has this ever happened to you? You wanted to start something. Tomorrow I'm going to start running. Next week I'm going to start on this brilliant business idea. Or this weekend I'm going to start investing. And then nothing. Tomorrow becomes tomorrow becomes tomorrow. I have been stuck in this for almost 6 months now. Every day I think, okay, tomorrow I'm going to start running. Every morning I think, maybe tomorrow. So I stopped judging myself and started wondering, why is it so difficult to start even when we want to? It's not because we're lazy, because our brain treats starting something new like starting a war. But here's the interesting part. There's actually a psychological switch that moves us from the stuck mode to the start mode, and we can flip the switch on purpose. So before we get into that, let's take a look at the invisible traps our brain sets for us. In the 1980s, psychologists studying procrastination discovered something very fascinating. Basically, our brain works in two modes. We have the planning mode, which is where most of us are, where we're thinking, researching, planning, looking up online for those running shoes because I want to start running, reading up articles about how to be a brilliant investor, or watching YouTube videos about how to start a successful business. We all think we're making progress, but we're actually not. The second mode is the action mode. This is where things are actually moving. We have real action, real results, where we're actually running, starting the business, starting investing. Now, these two aren't just different activities. They're different ways in which our brain operates. And a lot of us are stuck in the planning mode, thinking we're making some progress, but we're actually just stuck. Psychologists call the moment we have to switch from the planning mode to the action mode as the Rubicon. Basically, it's named after the river at which Julius Caesar was standing. It was a tiny river, it wasn't huge. But it was terrifying because the consequences were huge. Because if he was crossing the river, he would be declaring war. Not crossing the river would mean that nothing was going to happen. And our brain does the same thing. But why does moving from one mode to the other seem so terrifying and so difficult? It's because of two main reasons. And honestly, both apply to me. The first one is, when we're in the planning mode, we have all the options available. We can start this business, or that one, or the third option. Or we can invest in real estate, in mutual funds, or in stocks. Right now, all the options are available. But choosing one means closing the door on all the others. So even though we would gain something by moving on one path forward, we would be losing all the other paths. And research shows that we feel twice as strongly about losses than we feel about gains. So engineering or medicine, staying in India, moving abroad, each choice feels like a loss. And that's why we're stuck in the planning mode where anything is possible. But the problem is, keeping all options open means that we're basically choosing nothing. The second reason is a little deeper one. Basically, starting something threatens our sense of self. Let me explain. In the planning mode, we could be anyone. We could be someone who is a brilliant investor, successful business owner, or someone who is very fit. All the potential is there. It's untested and it's unlimited. But starting something means that we have to face the reality of who we are at this moment. That means I'm not going to be someone who is very fit. I'm actually someone who's going to lose her breath in 2 minutes and be defeated. Or we would not be the successful business person, but someone who is a little lost and confused and doesn't know where things are going. Or we wouldn't be the brilliant investor, but someone who would actually face some losses in the beginning maybe. So the fantasy version and the current version, they don't really match. There's a gap. And our brain tries to protect us by not exposing us to this uncomfortable gap. And here's what makes it worse. Every day in the planning mode makes the switch a little harder. So the decision that we would have taken a year ago, it was a tiny puddle to cross then. Right now, it might as well be an ocean. So the best time to make the switch is actually right now. So how do we make the switch? Basically, this is what happens every day. Every day morning I wake up and I'm like, is it too sunny outside? Is it the perfect weather to start running? Am I feeling energized? Is today the day? Oh, maybe tomorrow I'll be better rested and better suited for this. So every day I'm trying to make this decision. So one way to make the switch is to take the decision out from the the time of action, and make it beforehand. So the researchers found that what actually works in this situation, making a specific plan. Not I'm going to run tomorrow, but I'm going to put on my shoes at 6 a.m. tomorrow in my room. So basically having a specific action, putting on shoes at a specific time, 6 a.m. at a specific place in my room. Vague plans have a 40% follow through, but specific plans have almost 90% follow through. This works because the decision is already made and there is no should I in the morning. Another way to make it easier is actually have everything else ready. Like have the workout clothes ready, alarm on the phone, and pair something you love with the action. Like listening to favorite songs or podcast while running, or going to your favorite coffee shop, or having this wonderful coffee while you're working on the business plan. Basically puts comfort on both sides and the action has an immediate reward that we're looking forward to. The second solution is to make it ridiculously small. Right now, when I think of running, I think of someone who wakes up in the morning, goes for a run, eventually starts running 5K, maybe join a marathon and finish it on time and win this medal, the whole movie. And that can be tiring and overwhelming. So maybe instead, if you just make it really small, like putting on the shoes, it would be much better. So instead of becoming a successful business person, just start by sending an email. Instead of becoming a brilliant investor, just open the account. Because here's what happens. When you put on shoes, you might as well step outside. If you step outside, might as well walk a little distance. If you're going to walk, after some time, you might as well jog a little bit. The switch from the planning mode to the action mode is the hardest part. Once the action mode starts, the momentum takes over naturally. And here's what I realized. Once you make the switch, something changes. You're not someone who wants to run anymore, but you're someone who runs. Not an aspiring entrepreneur, but actually an entrepreneur. Because you face the gap, the action might be tiny, but the identity shift is real. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to put on my running shoes at 6 a.m. in my room. The clothes are going to be ready, the shoes are going to be by the bed, the phone is going to be across the room with the alarm set. And all my favorite songs and podcasts are going to be queued up in the playlist. Not committing to a 5K or running a marathon, but just putting on shoes. So let me know, what is your equivalent of putting on shoes tomorrow? What's the one thing that you've been stuck at planning? Let's make the switch together. So that's it for this video. See you soon in the next one. Until then, bye-bye. So if you like this video, make sure to check out the other video where we talk about how our phone continues to keep us scrolling with all the psychology tricks involved.